start. But thank you for joining us tonight. I know there's plenty of questions that you have as a entering 6th grade parent. We're going to try our best to answer all of those questions. We've been thinking about how to do this since May, possibly April, but we will get to that. I just wanted to take a couple more minutes for people to come, and then we can get started. So if you just be patient with me and just wait like 3 more minutes, see how many people come in, and then we'll go from there. Please make sure you're muted.
Yep, I'm going to mute everybody, so then you can just take yourself off mute, okay?
Okay.
Perfect, great.
This is the awkward part of our meeting right now, of just seeing me sitting in my office with Ann Corns hanging out in our house. But
yep. Welcome to my kitchen.
Yeah, really important that we let a little bit more time come so that people can join us. Is that Sue Dame I see?
Yep, she's in here.
Okay, great. Hi, Sue. You know what, Ann, this one I think is going to be a little bit longer because we're going to have a lot more questions. So let's go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for participating in my presentation tonight. I hope that through this presentation, you get a lot of information. I'll be sending it out as an Alert Now PowerPoint tomorrow, so that way you can review it just in case, because I might go a little faster and you might need to absorb some of it. Afterwards, I'm always available for questions. If you send me an email, if you prefer a phone call back, please just send me your number in the email and I'll give you a call back. I just want to begin by saying this has been a journey that we started in late May about what would school look like come September. And I just need to thank the whole middle school staff. They did not have a normal summer vacation because I was kind of a pit bull and hijacked it by sending them lots of emails, having staff meetings, having lots of discussion about really what can we pull off, what does school look like, what's the best model, and really sharing thoughts and coming down with a consensus. This middle school team was incredible for us, for me, and it gave really total new meaning to the words, it takes a village, because it really took a village for us to get to this meeting. So that's first and foremost. I really want to do a thank you. I also want to thank Ann, our new assistant principal, for being my co-host, who will be answering all of the chat questions that are going to be coming up. I ask that you hold off on questions because there's going to be a lot. But if you have a question pertaining to the slide that's being currently presented, please ask your question then. We'll try to get to all of your questions, and hopefully I give you enough information so that when it comes time to make a decision as far as which choice is going to be best for your family, you have it. So Ann, I'm going to get started.
Go for it.
Just first, our agenda. I just want to mention that first, we need to talk about the priorities of how we came to the decisions that we made. I want to give you an update about things that we know and things that we don't know. I want to give you some health and safety updates that I've received from the Department of Health as well as the nursing staff. I want to talk briefly about things that we considered when we came to the decisions that we made. Then I want to give you the daily schedule proposal. What does it look like in the week of a student? And then questions and comments. So first and foremost, our priorities. Our first and number one priority is the health and safety of our students and staff. We have to ensure that we are doing everything in our power to keep everybody safe as they enter our building. The second priority is relationship building. We were very fortunate that we knew our kids when we sent them March 13th out the building. We knew who they were. We knew who they were as learners. We knew how they were emotionally. We had a pretty good idea and handle on who they were. We don't have that coming in. We have a whole new group of sixth graders coming to brand new teachers. We need to first learn, who are you? How are you as a learner? What do I need to know about you? And then we can maybe start talking about curriculum. But before we can even jump off and talk about pronouns and nouns, we need to know, who are you? And then as we travel through this journey together starting in September, we're going to have to be flexible. There are going to be changes as we go. And we just need to know that up front. So, whoops, go back. So what do we know? We know that the state has asked us to prepare 3 models: a full everybody in, a hybrid model, and a remote model. So about a week ago, I asked some school councils, school site council people, the PTO, teachers, IAs, all to get together. I broke them into 3 groups and said, okay, I need your help. I want to know your opinion. What are your thoughts about everybody coming in? What does it look like as a hybrid model? What does it look like as a remote model? And then from there, I took upon their recommendations and submitted that to Mr. Friend. More than likely, I'm pretty sure it's 100%, we are going to be offering either a hybrid model or a remote model. It's just the safest. We're still waiting for things to like, what our athletics look like? Not that it really pertains to 6th graders, but for the whole, what our athletics look like? What does transportation look like? How many kids are going to be driven in? How many bus routes do we need? What do we know about health and safety? Everything changes on a daily basis. Michelle Donovan, a school nurse, and the group of school nurses are working with Cheryl Winsky from the Department of Health, and every day they are telling us new stuff. They are getting daily updates. There will be a meeting with them to just really kind of solidify what exactly is happening, what they're going to be looking for. That will be coming out, but I will go towards that shortly. And then, of course, band and chorus. What does band and chorus look like? It's going to look very different right now from what it used to look like, but we have worked really hard to keep music in our school. You as parents have invested time and energy. Students have invested time and energy in learning an instrument. We need to keep music in our school. Sue Dame has been adamant about how that's going to look like. She's been a great counsel to us about what it's going to look like. So we're going to be able to offer band and chorus because, let's face it, kids don't come just to learn English and math. They love to come in and maybe possibly their day is highlighted by learning how to sing and be a better singer, or be the best trumpet player they are. So it's going to look a little different. We're going to have band and chorus. We're just not sure exactly what that is going to look like. Thank you, Sue, for the thumbs up. So health and safety. I referred to our school nurses, and this is what they've told us, that if a kid comes into our building who presents a whole slew of particulars for being sick, they're going to get sent home immediately, and they're referred to their PCP. Students who test positive at home have to stay home at least 10 days, with 3 days in a row, symptom-free. Anybody who's in close contact with somebody who has been tested and has been positive, everybody is going to know about that, and students will need to stay either 5 days of quarantine or be tested. Sutton Public Schools are not going to be providing the testing. It's going to have to be one of those deals where you take students to wherever the testing facilities are and get them tested. We are notifying everybody if a positive case comes into our school. If anybody does become positive, test positive in our school, it's not going to necessarily result in a shutdown. I know the rumor was that if somebody comes into school, they test positive, we're shutting the school down automatically for 3 days. That's not necessarily the case. What is the case is the Department of Health will figure out what does it look like in our school, and they'll determine the next steps as far as closing it down. And we've had questions on this one. Are there any questions?
There are no questions in the chat right now.
Beautiful. So we know that having all the kids in is not realistic. It's just not safe for anybody. So we really want to just right now focus on what does the hybrid model look like? What is being offered in our school? When we looked at that, we really considered, okay, what does it look like? And the first thing that we came up with was we need some staggered time for the students to come in. So teachers are contracted to come into our building and be ready and prepared for students by 7:20. So we're asking students to not come to school before 7:20, and between 7:20 and 7:40, arrive to school. We'll be able to, as kids come in, if anybody's been noticing our parking lot, when kids come in, they pretty much are 6 feet apart as they arrive to school. For buses, we'll have to ask the bus to empty out 1 bus at a time. All students and staff have to wear masks all day. We suggest highly a nice, easy cotton mask. We're still looking from the Board of Health for recommendations on the neck things.
Gaiters.
Gaiters.
Right. So there have been a couple questions about kids wearing face shields, and they cannot wear a face shield alone. They would either have to have a face shield and a mask, or a face shield with a gaiter, which is like kind of a drape that would cover their neck and prevent the particles from spreading.
Yep. We needed to allot time to clean and disinfect between transitions. We need to have mask breaks. I know realistically, wearing a mask for 30 minutes is torture, and I can't do it. And I can't imagine a 12-year-old to sit through a 45-minute class wearing a mask. We're going to have frequent masks breaks during the day, during every period, basically. We have created our classroom space to allow kids to be 6 feet apart in each class, and as well as lunch. And we'll talk about lunch shortly, but we really did a redesign of our school just to keep everybody 6 feet apart. As far as coming into the building, we are going to ask students at the 6th grade level to only use the main entrance to come into our building, to go up through the cafeteria, up the stairs, and into their 6th grade wing. For parents who aren't familiar with the middle school, the 6th graders are all upstairs on our 2nd floor. 7th and 8th graders are in a wing downstairs. And that's also going to come lots of questions about the middle school and what does it look like. We're going to get to all of that because I am sure as a 6th grade parent with a student who's never come into our school, you're going to have a lot of questions. The last thing is, when we looked at the hybrid model, we're asking students that they have to be out of the building at 2:05 to allow our custodians to deep clean.
Pretty quiet over here, Jerry.
Okay. So what we proposed, so I just want to again reiterate, we have been talking and thinking, and I've been creating.
Bryce called.
Oop, excuse me. Please mute yourself. I'll come and find you. Okay, we're muted. We're good.
Okay. So there were lots of schedules since May, a lot of discussions, and we as a staff decided that a 7-period day made the most sense. Of course, it's subject to change, but it made the most sense for our students. And some of the reasons why, it's the simplest schedule for our students. So 6th grade parents, you probably don't know, but we did a drop schedule where on a 7-period day, you would only attend 6 periods. And you would have to figure out during the day, if it's a day 2, you wouldn't go to your 2nd period class. It's a little confusing for the 6th graders. They get it in about a week, but we just decided, let's just keep it simple, periods 1 through 7. It maximizes teachers' face time with the kids as far as getting to see them every single day. We kept the elective to 1 grade, period. So all the students in 6th grade will be taking health. Why did we do that? Because the Department of Health wants us to minimize contact. So we can't ask the health teacher to teach 6th grade and the next period teach 7th grade. We're infecting 6th graders and 7th graders and vice versa. So we have to keep teachers as much as possible to 1 grade level, and that was the electives. And if we have to go to distant learning, 100% remote, it's a nice, easy transition from what we currently are proposing to do. Anne?
Actually, why don't we, this is about special ed. How will you incorporate special education services?
Okay, so you will see when I get to the 6th grade schedule of what it looks like in a typical 6th grade day. But we are also going to have to, if the IEP says they need X, Y, and Z for services, we're going to have to figure out how to get that done. But we will be sticking with the IEP.
Okay, you can go ahead. We can talk about the next question.
All right. So this is 8th grade and 7th grade. Let me show you what 6th grade is going to look like. We made it purposeful that students rotate from class to class in a circular motion. And we're going to be utilizing, for those who don't know of the middle school, between 2 of the classrooms, there is a door. So we're going to utilize that door to move students instead of outside in the corridors. We're going to try as much as possible to minimize contact in the hallway by using those doors. So a typical day for a 6th grader, they would start in Miss Martell's classroom in math. They would then transition to ELA using that side door into Mr. V's room. They would go across the hall to Mr. Mosley's classroom. They would go through that door again to their science, to Mrs. Ketty. They'd go out the door through the hallway, down the glass corridor to computers. They'd more than likely stay in that computer class for period 6, which is probably going to be a hodgepodge. Period 6 is where we put kids in band and chorus. We deliver our academic support with kids. It could be a guided study for students to work on homework, to ask questions of their teachers. Hey, I don't understand this. Can I go see Mr. V? I have a quick question. Call Mr. V. Hey, can I send over so-and-so? And we can get that room ready so that when so-and-so shows up at Mr. V, he's safe, the kids are safe, and we can get that question answered. It's also time that potentially for students to do a Genius Hour project. Genius Hours project is one of those things where you can have that time to study and come up with a project on something that you really, really, really want to learn about. And then from there, you would go to the team room where health would be delivered. And again, it's a circular motion. So if you said, let's say, started in science, you'd go to computers, you'd go to the health room, you'd go to math, you'd go to ELA, you'd stay in ELA, and then you'd finish your day off in history. So we've tried to rotate the kids through a circular motion so that they're not in constant contact with each other. Now, the question came, how are we going to group kids? Once we know who the kids are coming, we're going to really have to focus on the right kind of grouping so that kids aren't tortured with somebody who they're not friendly with. But the kids who, let's say, are in math class are going to travel all day long together, going from math to ELA to history to science to computers, then to band and chorus and to health. We have to be very conscious of who our students are, use recommendations from the 5th grade teachers, from Mrs. Harrison, from guidance, and put together our groups. But we won't know our groups until we actually survey you guys to figure out who's coming, who's working remote.
Okay, I have a couple questions in the chat. Will there be advisement in this schedule?
So no, there will be no advisement in our schedule. We really thought about it, and we need, between transition time, mask breaks, there really was not a lot of time for advisement. We really have to get to that curriculum part. Now I backtrack. for the first couple of weeks of school, we are not focused on curriculum. We are really focusing on our students and who are they. We use that time as a school to identify kids who may have some potential social, emotional, or mental health issues. And those are brought from the teachers to myself in guidance. And then we try to figure out how best to help those students and assign those kids to a counselor or a point person so that they can get the mental, social, or emotional help that they need.
Okay, great. So are these sixth grade students just having health? Are they going to have art, gym, other specials at any point during the year?
So what I'm going to say is let's get through the first 45-day rotation and see where we are. The Department of Health, again, said they don't want cross-contamination between teachers and students. Can I imagine a whole year of health, maybe slash a little PE? That's a hard one to swallow because I really think kids need art. I think kids need, music. I think kids need STEM. So we'll have to wait and see on that. And that's going to come directly from the Department of Health for recommendations.
Are they going to wipe down the desks in between classes?
So that's also one of those conversations that we've had actually a couple days ago about what makes most sense. There are two different ways to go. We can either have the teachers spray down the desks with a solution that takes about 6 minutes for that solution to dry on the desk. Or we can ask students to, I personally, if I was a sixth grade student, I'd want to make sure that my desk was wiped down by me so I know it's cleaned. We'll be asking kids to maybe wipe down their desks. There will be information coming from Mr. Friend as far as what are those cleaning supplies, what are the chemicals in those cleaning supplies. So you will have that information as far as, what's being put out there for kids to use to help clean. I mean, bottom line is we can spray, we can wipe, but if I'm a kid coming in, I'm going to want to make sure that that desk is nice and clean.
Absolutely. There's a question in here about like the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday split AB cohorts. We're going to get to that in 1 second. So I'm not skipping your question. I just know it's coming up. That's a question. Will all groups be inclusion for those students that require? So another question.
So we're going to have some groups that are in inclusion and some groups that will be non-inclusion. We're going to try our best to support all of our kids. We've done really a great job when we've created our groups in the middle school that the inclusion kids get support throughout the day by either an instructional assistant or the special ed teacher.
Great. Are you concerned that the kids traveling to different rooms will increase their risk of COVID? Shouldn't the teachers move since it will minimize the risk?
So we went back and forth on this one, and the reality is kids need to move. Kids need to go and see a new environment after 45 minutes. It's different from elementary school where they have the same teacher every single day in the same classroom every day. Middle school kids get, as my mother would refer to as ants in their pants. I don't know what happens between 5th grade and 6th grade, but all of a sudden they're like little jumping beans and they need to move and get out of their seats. And it really, we really went back and forth on that. And we just felt that it's beneficial for kids' mental and social health to just be able to move. And we're going to be really cognizant of how we move kids to keep them as safe as possible.
Okay, great. Why are the 7th and 8th graders getting the rotation of electives and not the 6th?
They're not. So what we determined was because of a grant that we wrote, 8th graders all had to have STEM education because we wrote this huge grant. 7th grade then was art and 6th grade was health and PE. I'd like to be able to say after 45 days or maybe after the 60 days, we're able to transition the kids to a next rotation. That would be ideal to me, but I have to wait for the Department of Health to tell me what's going to happen with that.
If there are no advisory periods or after school hours, how will students get one-on-one help from teachers?
So we'll get to that when we start talking about the A day and the B day.
Okay. Prior to school starting, will there be an opportunity for a walkthrough with the students?
Again, we're going to get to that shortly.
Great. We're going to talk about this in a second too. Okay. We will get to the remaining questions in the chat in 1 second. You can go ahead, Mr. Goyette.
Okay. So what does it look like for a student schedule? When we looked at timing, we just felt that if students arrive between 7:20 and 7:40, we get the kids into the classrooms. The teachers will be monitoring locker use. We'll only ask them to put their coats in their locker. They're gonna have to travel with the backpack. When I talk about the backpack situation, we are experts in looking at kids' backpacks, going through them and saying, that should stay at home, that should stay at home, this needs to come to school. Kids like to bring the kitchen sink with them. We need to, all together, including parents, be able to draw the line in the sand and say, you don't need this, you don't need that, you don't need this. So we want to try to keep as much of the stuff that we actually do need the kids to use in their backpacks. We will be coming out with the supply list shortly, as soon as the 6th grade team and I meet and talk about what's realistic for the kids to have to bring to school every day. What kind of things can we provide to the kids every day, and go from there. Then every classroom after that is a 45-minute period with a 5-minute passing period. That transition period and that 45-minute period is also time to possibly and potentially use a mask break. We know teachers are really good about chunking their lessons, and they'll know when the appropriate time is for them to take their class outside to take a break. We also might be working a lot outside if it's a beautiful day, and doing our classroom environment outside on the field if it's appropriate. And we're going to have to try to do as much mask breaks as possible, because I personally know trying to put on a mask and keep it there for 30 minutes is just torture. And the teachers understand that too. And they're going to need a mask break. So I rely on the teachers as figuring out when in their lesson it's appropriate to take the kids and doing a mask break. Lunch, briefly, is for 6th graders, 11:05 to 11:25, and then they go back to class for their 5th period. We're going to try, we have 3 different lunches going on. That 7th grade has a split lunch. That's what we call a split lunch, which means they go for 20 minutes, they take their lunch, and then they come back to class for 25 minutes. That's not ideal. And so what we're going to try to do is move the lunch around for the kids so that 7th grade doesn't get stuck with a split lunch. It's really hard, but we'll see how it goes. It might be really beneficial for the 7th graders to have that break just for a mask break lunch and then go back to class. So again, everything evolves. Right now, I think we should be moving that split lunch around grade levels, but it may end up being really beneficial just to the 7th grade. End of the day, we made it a little bit longer because we know that at 1:55, they get antsy, they look at the clock, kids start to pack up, and we've lost them. They are waiting on the edge of their seats for the end of the day announcements. So that's why there's that extra 5 minutes at the end of the day.
Right.
With lunch, we are using the cafeteria. The gym is being used by the high school. So we will not have any interactions between the high school and our kids. There's enough 5 minutes time for the custodial staff to wipe down the desks for the lunch kids. We know lunch is going to be really hard for kids. They want to see their friends. They want to socialize, and asking kids to find a seat, sit forward, and it's going to be a little unrealistic, and we know the kids, and we know that that's going to be really hard to do. We're going to do our best. We're going to ask the kids to, do their best as far as where they sit. Are they going to be able to sit with their friends? Well, I hope that they can all figure out as a group who's sitting where. They're usually pretty good about, this is the section that we all sit in, this is the section that we all sit in, and they spread themselves out pretty good to be social. Lunch is going to be a little hard to pull off as far as like keeping the kids at the desks to have their lunch. We'll be dismissing them from their desks to go up. It's a grab and go lunch, box lunch. Chicken nuggets, let's say, is all going to be in the box. They're going to grab the box, grab their utensils, which are all in a little plastic bag, and then go see the lady. They have a new system where it's no touch, and then they go sit down at the table and they get to eat their lunch. It's going to be, if we look at remote, if we look at the hybrid model, we're only talking about potentially 40, 45 students at a lunch period. So they're going to be able to pretty much go very quickly through that lunch line, get what they need, and have a seat. I will say, in my experience, kids eat their lunch in 5 to 7 minutes, and the rest of the time they chit chat and gab and socialize.
Mr. Goyette, can you just clarify, is the lunch seating assigned? Like once they figure out like the first day of school or so, and they pick their seat near their friends, is that their seat going forward? Is it assigned?
So I would say you can't really assign kids seats, but if that's where I sit every single day, that's pretty much where I'm going to sit every single day. If I
Honestly,
need to move,
they gravitate to the same seats all the time.
they gravitate to the same seat all the time. If there's a social conflict and they don't want to sit with those friends anymore, they tend to work things out so that either they work it out or they move to another group, and there'll probably be a seat there as well. There'll be plenty of seating at lunchtime. I really feel we'll be able to use a lot of the outside as well of kids. It's a beautiful day. I know in September when we come back into October, everybody wants to go outside. And what does that look like? And it's going to be a little hard to keep kids 6 feet apart. They're going to have to do a good job knowing that that's the expectation if they go sit outside.
Okay, a couple more questions about lunch. Just a comment about assigned seating. I thought the Department of Public Health wanted assigned seating for contact tracing. So that might be something we need to adjust, Mr. Goyette.
So again, we're working with kids, and we can ask the kids to sit in their seat all the time. It's really going to be hard to do that. We'll try our best, but the kids need to know as well that when you sit down, that's your seat, you're not moving. But we know kids move.
How would a new student adapt if they don't know anyone, especially at lunch?
That's a great question. What we typically do is a new student gets assigned a buddy, and that buddy usually works and takes them under their wing for the day and introduces them to all the kids in their class, and they tend to sit with those kids and start that friendship. Usually that's how that works.
Can students bring their own lunches?
Yes, bring your own lunch. That's encouraged, actually.
Okay. Just going back a little bit to clarify, backpacks travel with the kids, coats are the only thing in the locker.
Correct.
Just in case anybody missed it, the supply list is almost finished. The 6th grade team is working on it. Thank you, Mr. Vandenberg. So mask breaks will be every period at the discretion of the teacher. Where will the mask breaks take place? The high school is going outside for theirs.
We'll probably end up outside as well. It's the safest place to be. We have, we can use the outside, go down the stairs, go through the cafeteria, and outside into the courtyard. That makes sense to me. Also, that makes sense to me is to go down the back stairs and then outside. And again, we might be outside just because it's a beautiful day and it's easier to plan. This is what we're going to do outside.
Right, and in inclement weather, we would definitely have some designated spots, like big areas for mask breaks.
Mhm.
Would the children who are 100% remote follow the same schedule?
We will get to that.
Perfect. Okay, I think we're ready to go ahead to the next slide.
Okay. So what does it look like for a hybrid model? This is our hybrid model option. So once we figure out, based on the survey that will be coming out, what you decide for your students, we'll be able to take the kids who are all going to take hybrid. It's going to get tricky because it's district-wide, and we're going to separate them by alpha into two groups, Group A and Group B. Siblings are all going to have to be in the same group. So
they can go to school on the same days. That was a question, so.
Yep, if they go, we want all families to go to school on the same day. If there's some different last names of students, we kind of need to know that so we can make sure that that also happens. And basically, if you're in Group A, you come to school for a Monday and Tuesday, and then you're sent with 3 days worth of work, independent, with a limited support on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. If you're in Group B, and it's going to be a little tricky at the start, but you're going to come to school on Thursday and Friday, and you're going to be given 3 days of remote to work on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. When we say limited support, I know who our teachers are. If they're not getting something or if they need a little help, they're going to send an email to their teacher. They might not get it within 5 or 10 minutes. They will get it, though, within probably the day, as far as the teachers reaching out to them.
And just to talk a little bit about Wednesday, well, all students will be remote. Teachers will be in the building for a half day, and on that half day, they will have time for planning, preparation, team meetings, department meetings, and then it would also allow for remote teaching in the afternoon where teachers could respond to parent emails, connect with students, do a little extra help, that sort of thing. So Wednesday is a learning day for everybody, whether the kids are working independently on things at home, getting help from extra teachers, that sort of thing. Mr. Gray, did you want to talk about extra help at this time?
So again, extra help, the teachers by contract have to spend a little time after school on particular days, and we'll make sure, they'll make sure that, one of those days might be Tuesday for the B group and Thursday for the A group. Again, I go back to the teachers. Our teachers are incredible. They don't want kids to fail. They're going to respond to the kids and make sure that they get everything they need. They just have to reach out to the teachers, and parents as well. Just reach out to the teachers. That everybody's here to support kids. As Mr. Friend said in the previous, we know that we're putting a lot of pressure on parents through our models, and we get that. And we're here. And if you need help, you just need to let us know, and we'll do our best.
Great. Just a little bit of clarification. There's a question like, what is hybrid remote learning? So this is the hybrid model. And the hybrid model means that it's a combination of in-person and remote learning. So it's a little bit of both, as opposed to a full remote model or a all in, everybody in school model. So it's a mix of both worlds.
Right.
Okay.
So just kind of clarify again, this hybrid model, students receive 2 days of FaceTime with their teachers, and then they work remotely independently for 3 days.
Correct. Okay. So in your hybrid model, are you going to have an in-person teacher and a remote teacher, or are the teachers going to be both?
Say that again slowly, Ann, I'm sorry.
Yep. In the hybrid model, is the student going to have an in-person teacher and a remote teacher, or is it just one teacher?
So in the hybrid model,
It's just
you're
one
going to
teacher.
have just the one teacher that you have FaceTime with for the 2 periods, and then you won't see them for the next 3 days. You'll be able to reach out them through email, but that's you will only see the teachers for 2 days.
Right. So your student will have Mr. Vandenberg in person Monday and Tuesday if they're in group A, and then they would learn independently at home Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and be able to check in with Mr. Vandenberg on those days. It's just one teacher.
Right. And they might have, teachers may have office hours on that Wednesday so that they are available during that time, so that kids can reach out.
Okay. Will the week flip each week or stay the same? So will the days rotate or do they stay the same?
So we had lots of discussion about how this model should work. There was discussion about A group on Monday, B group on Tuesday, A group on Thursday, B group on Friday, and A group on Monday through Friday. The following week, group B comes in. And the bottom line was the best we thought for our students was the 2 days in, 3 days out made the most sense. We really struggled with the every other model where A would come one day, B would come the next day. And the Department of Health shut it down because that was not safe for our kids or for the staff. It wouldn't allow enough time to deep clean between groups. There will be extra custodial staff that will be hired in the district, and those people will be deep cleaning Friday nights and potentially during the weekend.
Okay. Sorry if I missed this. There will be no visual art classes for 6th grade students for the entire year? Question.
So that again goes back to the original. The Department of Health has recommended that we keep the elective teachers by grade level so we don't cross-contaminate. In my world, that hurts a lot because I know kids want to do art, they want to do music, they want to do STEM. So I'm going to have to go with the recommendation of the Department of Health to see, everything changes on a day-to-day basis. They might recommend, yeah, Jerry, that's okay to do. Go ahead. But again, number one safety route is for students and staff. Yeah, I'd love art, but is it worth getting COVID? No. So we're just going to have to take the recommendation of the Department of Health and go with that.
Will there be regular grading?
So yes, we are going to, and this is a big one for upcoming 6th graders. We use the A, B, C, D, and F model for grading.
Okay, great. How does that work with how does the independent work, how does that work with an IEP for the independent work piece?
Okay, so how it worked in the past was when the kids were doing their remote learning, we would assign those kids a point person, and that point person would reach out to them and see how are they doing, what did they need, and kind of work with them throughout either one day if they needed it, 2 days. It really comes down to the personality of the students and the need of the students and the person who's that point person who's going to be reaching out to them.
Okay, I think it just goes to the way we labeled things on the chart. What is the difference between hybrid in-school and hybrid remote learning? Basically, we wanted to show that this is the hybrid model. So if your student is doing the hybrid model, they're gonna be in one of 2 cohorts. And this is different than the 100% remote learning group. So in this hybrid model, we have cohort A, they'll be in school. Cohort B, they're learning remotely. They're all part of the hybrid option that we're offering. I hope that clarifies that.
Which is going to be very different from option 2, which we're going to get to next.
Right. The 100% remote learning, option 2, like Mr. Goyette just said, is a little bit different. Okay. So 60% independent learning. Why aren't there office hours or help sessions on Wednesday?
There will be.
Yeah, we spoke to that a little bit earlier, that teachers will have their contracted 2 days of extra help, and they will have an opportunity to check in with teachers on the remote learning day. What type of work is provided for the students in those 3 independent learning days?
That's a great question. Anne, go ahead and speak to that, because you were the remote person for a
Okay.
while.
So the work on independent days is going to support what the kids learned with the teachers in person. It could look like assigned reading, watching an assigned video or presentation, perhaps doing a little mini project, maybe working on a Google Doc with other students. Teachers did a lot of creative lessons that kids were able to do independently on those days. And if they had questions, they can always email the teacher, and the teacher will get back to them as soon as they can. I think that covers that, right? What about weeks with holidays? Will the schedules be adjusted so students will still have their 2 days?
So we looked at that, and the reality is, when we looked at the calendar and we look at, what is potentially going to happen, we really planned on the 45 days just to see what happens. And I believe in the 45 days, there's a Monday holiday and then a Wednesday holiday. So if the kids are that Monday, Tuesday, they're going to end up missing a day.
Okay.
And that could change as we go further into the school year.
Correct. Just a comment, I like 1 week in, 1 week out, less time the custodians have to clean. The kids can have 5 days of homework. Do you want to speak to that, Mr. Goyette, why we didn't choose that?
So we went back and forth on that as well. I think, and we felt as a staff, being FaceTimed with the kids for 2 days and sending them out for 3 days was far better than seeing the kids all 5 days and then sending them away for 5 days. Just having those kids that length of time away from us, we just felt that this was the better model to go with.
If we choose full remote learning, will there be art or STEM options?
No.
Not at this time, right?
This time.
We might be talking about this in a little bit, but I'm going to ask it now. What will the first day of school look like for 6th grade? They won't know where to go or what to do.
Okay, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
All right. Will the A group learn the same content with a live teacher on Monday or Tuesday that the B group will then learn on Thursday and Friday?
Yes.
Okay. Then will both groups be given the same remote work to do at home, just on different days?
It's going to look a little different at the beginning, but eventually we'll catch the kids up, and yeah. I'm looking at Mr. V nodding.
The 2 days that teachers are available for extra help, will they be in person or virtual?
Virtual. Okay. Mr. V is saying virtual. I can read it very well right now.
I second that. How many hours would a child spend on schoolwork during their remote learning days?
We would expect the kids to use at least a half an hour for each class or more during the remote learning days.
Okay. Will there be any third-party apps or programs used at scale, like Khan Academy or Zern, that sort of thing?
So we use all different kinds of apps throughout our teaching experiences. So kids may be asked to watch a Khan video and then do an activity with it. We've done all sorts of different things when the kids were not in front of us. The teachers got very, very creative about what they wanted to use and how they used it.
Okay. I think pretty much covered it.
Okay. So option 2 is remote. So what is remote? Again, subject to change based on what we learn as we go. Remote students maintain a virtual schedule. Every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, they attend a virtual class with the teacher. We're asking the kids to start the day with a meeting, just a school-wide meeting, Pledge of Allegiance, daily announcements, and then they are off. They go to their Zoom meeting for, if their schedule is first period they see Mr. V, Mr. V is teaching them virtually for that half-hour period of time. We thought 30 minutes is a long enough screen time for the kids. It's really difficult with their attention span. Anything longer than 30 minutes, we kind of tend to lose them. Also, it gives them less screen time, gives them a break between classes, 10 to 15 minutes. We also will establish a lunch period. So it's going to really feel like a regular school day. It's going to be a very different learning experience from being FaceTime with the teacher versus the Zoom time with the teacher. It's going to be a little different. They are going to be accountable for attendance. We need to see the kids every single day. They need to leave the video on so we can kind of see them. We ask that they use a background, and teachers and the IAs in that class will be able to monitor the kids. They're going to be using interactive tools, things like breakout rooms, surveys, just to keep the focus and attention going. They will be graded the same exact way that the kids who are doing the hybrid model. We are going to give those kids a point person for all communication and check-in. So instead of having the teachers, email, 5 teachers emailing a parent, there's going to be just one teacher emailing the parent just to say, hey, here's what we're seeing, give us a call. We're going to be using Google Classroom as our classroom tool. And again, contractually, all grades are going to be posted via iPass within a 2-week period.
Okay. Mr. Goyette, how is the teacher going to be able to teach in person and Zoom at the same time?
So that was a great question. And we started this whole process. I can tell you the exact day. It was May 25th. I came up with the teacher schedule because if we started with the assumption that, potentially 10 to 15% of our kids would work remotely, we would go with a hybrid model where teachers were scheduled 4 periods a day of in-person and 1 period a day for remote.
Okay. So with the remote, is the camera on the teacher or the room?
So the room is going to be empty, and it probably will be more on the teacher and using the tools that are the technology tools that they have available to them, where they may screen share a PowerPoint, they may do a Screencastify presentation, but it's just the teacher in the classroom in front of the computer, in front of the camera, working with students.
Going back to the hybrid model, does the hybrid calendar change? Meaning week 1 goes Monday, Tuesday, but week 2 they go Thursday, Friday? No,
we wanted consistency as far as trying to do childcare, etc. If you knew it was AB, if you knew you're an A-day person, you're coming Monday, Tuesday, it was easier for you to manage like childcare.
Right. That previous slide was just showing when group A is in school, group B is remote learning on that last slide. Okay. For the remote learning option, will there be an A and B group?
Yes. And it'll be based on alphabet as far as where is that split district wide, because we have to do the best to manage half the kids coming one day, half the kids coming the other day. It's not going to equal half and half. It's going to be a little more towards one day versus the other because it's district wide. And we want to keep families together.
For hybrid, yes, but what about for just the 100% remote learning option for this plan right here?
There's only going to be one group.
Yep.
that will all attend, depending on numbers. If we have more numbers that are coming remote, then the teacher schedule would be 3 FaceTime and 2 remote. We're going to try to keep the classes as low as possible.
Right. For the remote model, will students have Zoom classes with each of their classes 2 days a week and be on the same schedule as the hybrid model kids?
No.
No. They have their own schedule.
They have their own schedule. They go Zoom four days out of the week, with Wednesday being the remote day of ability to check in, see what's going on, what do I need for extra help, and they will have a lesson. So like, I'm sure that when I see Mr. V on Tuesday, he's going to assign something for Wednesday remotely, and then on Thursday picking up that remote lesson and going from there. Sorry, Mr. V, I keep picking on you because you're the third person down.
He's helping me out in the chat here, answering questions too. So thank you, Mr. V. Could we do a combination of hybrid and remote? It seems the remote has more teacher time as they are getting 4 days.
So the choice is either hybrid or the choice is remote. When you look at it, it's going to be very different. You know, time-wise, you might see the teacher more remotely, but the experience is going to be very different.
All right, let's see here. Okay. As far as backpacks are concerned, will the kids be expected to carry around all of their books during the day, or can they remain in the room if they do not need to take them home for the night?
So we don't really use a lot of books in the middle school. They're given a paperback hatchet at the beginning of the year, right, Mr. V? They're given their math book, which is, you know, maybe 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, 8.5 by 12. Science tends to do a lot of photocopies or online papers that the kids do. Same thing with history, same thing with computers. So there shouldn't be anything, there shouldn't be a lot in their backpack as far as, you know, 4 books and 3 binders. We're really going to try to go to like a 1 binder system and limit the amount of things the kids have to bring to school every day.
Okay. The elementary school is requiring that kids bring a Chromebook. Is the middle school requiring the same thing?
So we are going to suggest technology comes to school every day. If students don't have technology, please reach out and let us know so we can provide that technology to students. I know Mr. Friend, through a grant, is ordering Chromebooks so that we can provide those for kids who need them. We would love for every kid to have a Chromebook, and that's what we're working towards. The reason why we're going with Chromebooks is we want every kid on the same platform, and we're in a Google environment. But if a kid has an iPad, then bring the iPad. If a kid has, you know, a laptop, bring the laptop. We'll be trying to use the devices as much as possible, but I think, I can't say for sure, but we'll have to see what the device situation looks like. When I'm face-to-face with a kid, it all depends on which classes and how the teachers are going to prepare their lessons, if they would even need a device.
And I would think too that at the beginning of the year with the in-person instruction that teachers would make the time to help the kids get familiar with the platforms and the technology and things like that as well. What if a student has a sibling at another school that ends up in person on different days? Can we request a switch to the other group?
That's a great question. I don't know.
I think when we break kids up for the A cohort and the B cohort, I think that's what this individual is talking about. We're going to do it by alphabet, but we're also going to do our best to make sure that all siblings are scheduled on the same day. So if there's a sibling at the middle school and the elementary school, and they're at the beginning of the alphabet, they would both be on A day. So when you get the survey that Mr. Goya is going to talk about in a minute, It's really important that you indicate that if they're siblings with different last names, so we can make sure that they're in the same cohort and match them all up. I think that answers that question.
And I think also, we're trying to help parents here. We're not trying to be a pain. We don't want, if there's a situation, just make us aware of the situation and we'll do our best to accommodate it. We'll do our best.
Absolutely. So the remote kids will have teacher instruction 4 days a week.
Correct.
Correct. Mr. Vandenberg's awesome. He's putting some comments in here. All students will end up with the same amount of English and all other classes instruction weekly. With the holidays, that may change, but the team will keep all students on the same page. He also says that the team is very focused on backpack weight and that they are going down to 1 binder. Okay. All right. Let me just see. Okay. The 2 days the kids are home, how much work will be assigned to them? Will this be another homeschooling situation, or will the child be completing more of a homework type assignment?
Really depends on what the teachers assign.
Right, and I think people will be very cognizant to assign more homework type assignments where they will have gone over it together, and it's something to just reinforce what they were doing in class. Oh, this is a great point from Mrs. Kerr. It's important to remember that there will be small numbers in classes due to the distancing need, and this also allows teachers a greater ability to attend to the needs of the student. That's a great point. Thank you.
Yep.
And we're all caught up in the chat right now.
Okay. So the parent survey is going to be coming out August 10th with the clear choices for the upcoming school year. It's either going to be remote or it's going to be hybrid. You need to complete it by August 14th. I'm going to be sending this PowerPoint out via Blackboard Connect tomorrow. So if the information's there at your hands to really come up with what the decision is that you need to make best for your student. If there are any questions between now and August 14th, send me an email. Let me know what your question is. I'll get back to you. If you prefer a phone call, please give me the phone number and I'll call you right back. Don't be surprised it's a 401 number that comes up on your phone because I will also probably be working a little remotely as well. So if you see a 401 number, it's me. After August 14th, we'll be able to look at who's coming, who's working remotely, and then come up with the class list and trying to come up with the best groups for kids so that when they travel together, and we've learned this in the past when we did STEM Week, we were really cognizant of who belongs with who because you're together all day. And we'll be using the 5th grade teachers, like I said, Mrs. Harrison guidance to really be able to put kids together that makes the most sense for kids.
Mr. Grant, I just want to add that the calendar is not yet determined, but I just want to make parents aware that we will be starting after Labor Day. The state has granted teachers 10 days at the beginning of the year to prepare, to adjust their curriculum, prepare lessons, have technology PD, have COVID training. So the message is just be prepared that we will be starting after Labor Day this year. The calendar will be forthcoming. I think that's what I want to say on that. Okay. Let's see. All right.
General questions.
Yep. So do we request a Chromebook now or later on the survey?
I would let myself or Mr. Friend know as soon as possible so that we have that technology available right away for you.
Right. And did you talk about the grant that with the Chromebooks, but they won't all be here till they're all not available and won't be here probably till January?
Well, we already have some in district as far as at the middle school level. And we did get an order in for the district. So we'll be able to parcel out what we have and try to do our best to make sure everybody has the same, technology that they need.
Perfect. When will the kids with IEPs or families be told how services will be delivered for each model?
So that's a great question. Mr. Friend addressed that in our last meeting. So I'll just tell you that he is working with our new special ed director, and she will also be having a meeting hopefully before the 14th, so that you're aware of how that services will be administered to your students.
Okay. Just a follow up to that, will students on an IEP get the services they need if they choose remote learning?
Yes.
Perfect.
It may be done remotely, but yes.
Can you switch from remote to hybrid or vice versa, or are you stuck with your choice?
So what we ask is, give it a month, give it 3 weeks, see if it works. And then certainly, we again, it takes a village, and we are partners in this. So, if it's not working, it's not working, and we'll have to accommodate and figure it out to put your student, vice versa, whatever group makes sense. But we do ask for you to give it a little time.
Right. And it's nice because there's a little bit of flexibility with the schedule that it will transfer pretty easily. How do we access Blackboard?
Okay, so hopefully you've been getting emails from me. If you haven't, please send me an email and just say, Jerry, I'm not getting anything from you. And then I can go into Blackboard and find out what the problem is and then rectify it if I can figure it out, which I'm usually pretty good at figuring it out.
What will buses look like?
So right now, that's a big to do with Mr. Friend. We're trying to figure out how many kids are actually going to be taking the bus. And then they're going to have to use the protocols that the Department of Health are requiring the bus companies to do. And then creating the runs as well, as far as picking up kids.
Yep. So on the bus, kids will be seated in a socially distant manner. They will need to wear masks. And right now, one of the guidelines is to keep the windows open on the bus. That'll be great when it's warm, but when the weather changes, we'll see. So that's what we know about transportation right now. Will there still be half days and full PD days?
So the calendars will be coming out shortly, and I do believe that we front loaded all our PD days up front, and so we're not going to probably end up having many half days or full days off. And additionally, we are not having any snow days. Snow days, we all are going to work remotely, and whatever the day is, let's say June 16th is the last day of school, June 16th is the last day of school.
Is the choice of remote versus hybrid up to the parents, or is the whole school the same?
It's up to the parents. You decide based on the survey, and you'll let us know which choice you are doing for your student.
Okay. Can you just reiterate how this PowerPoint will be shared?
Sure. So tomorrow, I will be sending it out by Blackboard Connect, which is usually like an email that you get from the school district, and it'll be an attachment. Also, we've recorded this, and so it will be also on, I hope I've recorded it.
You did.
So it will be up on the Sutton channel, and whatever magic that they can do, putting it on Facebook or whatever, Pam Nichols will make sure that happens, so it's out there.
What if a Chromebook is being provided under an IEP? Is that a separate request
No.
that needs to be made?
Nope.
Or will that be just handled by means of like the special ed department / teacher?
Just email me that you need a Chromebook by the IEP, and I'll make sure that that happens, so that way we get that right away.
Cover your bases.
Because we don't want it to fall through the cracks.
Right.
We don't want 3 weeks and all of a sudden you send me an angry email that says, hey, my kid was supposed to have a Chromebook 3 weeks ago, Jerry, what's happening? So just let me know. I can make sure that that gets taken care of.
If health officials greenlight it, is there a chance for complete normal school procedure again this year?
So let me state I have lived through earthquakes. I've lived through mudslides, fires, hurricanes. A pandemic was something I've never thought I would live through. But if the Department of Health says, guess what, there's a vaccine, everybody's got the vaccine, we can return back to normal, I would love to return back to normal and just start and do what we do as a school every single day. There's so much that the kids are losing because of the pandemic that we can't possibly do. Things like Teens Night Out, we can't do those. The movie nights, we can't do those. Field trips, we'd love to. I mean, Washington, D.C. got killed by the pandemic for our 8th graders. Would I love to have taken them? Yeah. We'd love to take the 8th grade team there. But, we just got to wait. But if we get greenlighted, believe me, we're all in. The schedule will be made and the kids will all show up on Monday.
Is there any state testing for like MCAS for 6th grade students?
So I haven't heard anything about MCAS, but I am kind of on the fence that we won't be having MCAS next year.
Okay. Is there an account with the school for families to purchase a Chromebook for a better price than what we would pay at a retail store, like a school rate? That sounds like it might be a question for Mr. Friend.
That's a question for Mr. Friend. If you just send me that question via email, I'll forward it to Mr. Friend and Mr. Durgan.
I'll make a note of it too.
Okay.
Will the survey be sent before the final announcement of exactly what is happening, or are these the only 2 options?
So these are the only 2 options. And so the survey is going to come out on the 10th. If you have any questions between now and then about the 2 different options, please let me know. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible so you can make that determination of what works best for your student. And again, it's one or the other.
Okay. What happens when Wi-Fi networking problems occur?
The teachers are very good about understanding that, and you just have to let them know.
Okay. What will the class sizes be?
So we anticipate, we can't really answer that question. We don't know until we know exactly how many kids are coming. I anticipate between 10 and 12, 11. That's my best guess.
We are doing remote learning. Since they aren't being offered art or electives, will those students still be able to participate with band?
So we still are having band. What band looks like is going to be very, very different, but we have to keep music in our school. We have to, we need the kids to continue their music education if that's what they're investing their time in. It's just going to look very different.
Right. Mr. Vandenberg commented, the 6th grade team is incredibly understanding of networking and Wi-Fi issues. If your family experiences this, please reach out to the staff and we will be incredibly forgiving and provide extra time.
Right.
Thank you for that. What is Blackboard?
Again, that's the messages that you get from Mr. Friend, from Mrs. Harrison in the past, from myself.
Okay, what about clubs?
So we will still try to continue to do virtual clubs. My favorite is Miss Martell's Cooking Club, where the kids all learn how to cook and do a recipe, and then she does a great job. We'd love to continue to do virtual clubs. And we had some success with some of them, and some were a little bit of a failure, but we learned as we went through last year.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Will there be a band teacher for each grade to accommodate the Department of Health regulations?
That's a great question. There are certain things that, it's going to be hard to do. there's only one speech pathologist, and they're going to have to work with, grades 6 through 12. We only have one OT, one PT person. We only have one reading teacher for Wilson. So there are going to be those isolated people that we're going to have to cross-contaminate to our best ability for them to stay as far away, 6 feet away or more from the kids, and do our best.
The hybrid and remote are running at the same time. There's still a little bit of confusion around that. Can you just clarify?
So again, hybrid, students come FaceTime for 2 days, then they work remotely for 3 days independently. All in remote, students do a typical day at home, Zooming with every teacher 4 days out of the week.
Right. And both models will be running, but it's up to the families to choose which one they want to enroll in.
Right.
Are there sports for 6th grade?
The only sports that we ran last year is cross country. But right now, sports is the big question up in the air. Are we able to do sports? We're still waiting for the MIAA to make that final determination. But, as we look at what's happening with the basketball world and the baseball world, I would wait, but my feeling is we're probably not going to have sports. But that's just me. Don't take that as gospel.
Mr. Vandenberg said that the kids tend to have the best ideas for clubs, so we encourage them or you to give us some club suggestions, which is totally true. Mm-hmm. Are the kids using desks or tables?
So we used to have double tables, like two chairs per table, but those are all being moved out, and we're getting individual tables. It's like a little table and a chair.
So it'd be an individual desk, but it's a little bigger than a desk, so.
A little bit bigger, but not much.
Kind of nice, right? Okay. How will bathroom breaks be handled?
So bathroom breaks are going to have to be monitored. We'll have people in the hallways monitoring that. Kids are going to have to go one at a time and stay 6 feet apart. And we're going to have cleaning in between. So bathrooms are a little bit of a tricky that we're still working a little bit on, but we have a pretty good handle on it.
If the family travels outside of the state and are part of the hybrid, are they required to quarantine?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Day might want to chime in on this one. What would band look like? DPH is saying all brass instruments must be played outside 10 feet apart. Is that realistic?
Hi,
Mrs. Dame.
Hi, Mrs. Dame. So kids will not be playing instrument in school. And Ms. Dame, you can take it from there.
So the students on their 2 days that they're in school, we will be doing lots of ways in preparing them to practice for when they go home or sing when they go home. So we'll be looking at different music and scores and theory and exciting ways to maybe teach how to record when you're at home and all that kind of stuff. But safety-wise, we know that singing and playing needs to be home right now. And virtual recordings of one form or another is going to become a great adventure for us to figure out. And then we'll just play it out. But we will also be sending emails out to our ensembles very soon to give you a little more direction on our thoughts. It just started to settle in this week. So we'll be out to you guys very soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
So I have some other big questions just to kind of throw out to the group.
Hold on, before you go on to that. One more question for Mrs. Dame. How would 100% remote band look?
I'll be honest, I don't know yet.
Okay, perfectly legitimate. And who will be cleaning the desks after each class, Mr. Goyette?
So again, that came up where either there's two different ways that we can do this. Either the teachers can spray the desks down. It takes about 7 minutes for them to dry, or the kids can wipe them down. I personally, as a student, if I was coming into a classroom, I would want to wipe my class. I would want to wipe my personal desk down, wipe my chair down. I would want to make sure that I am 100% safe and take that responsibility upon myself. And again, we'll be sending out something about what are the things that we're going to be using to clean the desks and what the chemicals are that are in there. But I would like to see the kids clean their own desks just for their own safety. You know, spraying is great. I'm a type A kind of person, and I want to make sure that my desk is clean because I've cleaned it.
And it is highly unlikely that we will be giving spray bottles to middle schoolers.
Yeah.
Mr. Vandenberg said, as a team, we are focused on safety above all else. As a school, I would say 100% the same. Okay, question. If there is hybrid learning during the school day, what are the times the remote classes take place?
So they're going to take place during the day from 7:50 to 2. Kids will be given a schedule. So their schedule is going to be, you know, I have ELA first period. I have math second period. I have this third period. And they're going to have to attend that Zoom class during that period for 30 minutes with Mr. V, 30 minutes with Ms. Martell. And they're going to go through a normal, I use the word normal, school day, but remotely 4 days a week.
Hey, Jerry,
Yes.
this is Mr. Vandenberg here for a sec. I think it might be prudent to just explain something quickly to parents. As a sixth grade teacher, we generally teach 5 periods every day, and our students all get the exact same lesson. I have 5 classes of sixth grade English, and all 5 classes get the same lesson. With what Mr. Goyette is talking about at this point in time, our schedule is looking to be quite different. So what that means for me this upcoming year and all members of the sixth grade team is that instead of me having 5 English classes, I'm going to have 4 in-person English classes, but I'm also going to have one of those that's going to be remote. So my schedule at this point in time, in theory, is that I will have period 1, I'll have a class of students in front of me, same with period 2, same with period 3, but my 4th period class, I actually don't have any children in my classroom. All other teachers in the 6th grade team will have kids with them during that 4th period time. But for me, that's my designated remote classroom time. So any families that elect to have their students be fully remote, they will log in during that particular time with me. So I will have my laptop in front of me, I will have my lesson plans ready to go, and I will be communicating with however many students are fully remote. And your children who are fully remote will follow a particular course. So each of the 6th grade teachers will have a different period of the day designated as our remote learning class. So for me, if I have 4th period as being my remote class, I'm not competing with children being in front of me. It's either kids are with me or I'm remote. And that's true of Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So I hope that may have clarified things a little bit.
Yeah, that was a teacher perspective on that. I think that was very clear. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. This is a great question in that same vein. Can students attend remote classes if they are quarantined or sent home for, you know, the 10 to 14 days?
The answer right now is I don't know.
Okay.
That's something that we have to think about.
Okay. They would have access to their teachers and the assignments online.
Right.
So that could be an option, but we'll get clarification on that. Will remote and hybrid end up doing all the same assignments?
Very similar.
Oh boy. How would the fully remote learners not get more instruction than the hybrid kids, since hybrid is only in 2 days in person?
So again, I think it's all going to work out in the end. As far as, I only have 9 kids in front of me on 2 days. I can get a lot done in those 2 days. So where that time may be like 90 minutes and the kids remote are 120, I'm going to be able to, it's going to end up being the same.
And again, like the face-to-face interaction of the kids doing the hybrid, that's really important with the small class sizes. That's an important factor to think about too. Can remote learners participate in clubs?
Yeah.
Absolutely. In the case of the school system having to go fully remote again, will classes be held in the evening?
No.
Okay, I just want to back up a little bit here because there was a question about, we've been out of school, we missed the end of the year together. Will there be any opportunity for review and coverage for kind of time allotted for going back over the things, the standards and things like that students
Mr. D is smiling. I think the communication between grade levels is going to be key. And we can't assume that all the curriculum was covered. So that's where those days that we are going to be working, together doing professional development before students come in, we're all going to have to start talking about, okay, what was covered in math? What did you miss in math? Okay, I'm going to have to pick that up and somehow work that into my curriculum delivery to try to catch the kids up as much as possible. We know there are gaps. We understand that. And we understand that the jumping point that we used to use last year is not going to be the jumping point that we use this year. Realistically, we are really going to have to look at where are they coming from, what did they get, what didn't they get, and go from there.
And just a suggestion, was wondering about an assessment for the students to see how much they missed and where they are academically at the beginning of the year.
I think, again, that's going to be the teachers to come up with that assessment and see exactly where kids are.
Okay, what PPE will teachers be using? Will the face masks have a window to see the mouth of the teacher?
That's a great question. I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. I'm not sure exactly what PPE has been ordered. I don't know yet.
Right. I know, yeah, they have a lot, like specific for the nurses, the gowns, the booties, the face shields, the masks, all of that. But as far as teachers go, I don't know. I don't remember us talking about what specific PPE teachers will have.
So one of the things that we can say is we all have sound systems in our classrooms that the teachers will be using every single day, which allows kids to hear really well what the teacher instruction is. So yes, I'm teaching behind a mask, but I have the microphone, and that sound system really does an incredible job. And there's always that volume control on that.
Perfect. Okay. Just to touch upon this again, in the remote learning, are they getting 4 days of instruction versus hybrid getting 2 days?
Yes.
Of course, in hybrid, it's 2 days in person and 3 days independent remote learning. So everybody is really learning 5 days.
Right.
Just some of it could be independent. Ski club, depending on how things evolve, yes or no? What do you think?
All depends on if the mountain's open first. That's the first part. Like, is the mountain open? How are they keeping everybody safe? How does that all work? I don't know if anybody's been to ski club, but there's no way those kids are 6 feet apart during ski club. So that's going to come down to the mountain and what their recommendations are.
Right. Okay, that's it. We are caught up in the chat.
Okay, so the other
Oh, wait. Okay, go ahead.
I go. So,
Yeah.
sixth grade parents, welcome to the middle school. We usually do a really great job of acclimating students to the school environment. We do a really great job explaining to parents how grading works and to the kids. We do a really great job of having the kids get acclimated to know where they're going on the first day. We let them know clear expectations. We do a great job of who are the teachers, and that all went up in smoke on March 13th. So there will be another sixth grade parent meeting just to figure out what does this all look like prior to kids coming to school. We will have a plan for kids coming to school that have never stepped foot in our building. I just don't know what that plan is. My time and energy has been spent on trying to figure out remote learning. What does that look like? Hybrid, what does that look like? The next piece of my focus is, okay, I have new kids coming into the building. What do I do with them, and how do I bring down their anxiety? I am starting a brand new school year with brand new people who I don't know, in a building I don't know anything about. How do I get to lunch? And I'll be working with the sixth grade team to figure all that out, and I will be sending out another Zoom invitation to address all that. So I just want you to know, I am thinking of you guys. It's been in the back of my head, but now it's like more towards the forefront because this part is solidified, what we're doing for September.
Okay. And we did have one question about why wouldn't we at least give a third day for hybrid on Wednesday? But my response was, one of the reasons is that DPH advised that we have a designated time for the deep cleaning in between the cohorts. So there'll be a deep clean on Wednesdays and then again on the weekends for the A cohort coming back. And also with all the changes in the way we provide instruction and curriculum, it's important to give teachers that little bit of time to plan, prepare, communicate with their teammates because they're going to be teaching the kids in front of them and they're going to be teaching the kids remotely. So just to allow a little bit of time for that as well. I think that answers that question.
Okay.
The time is 8 o'clock. Anything else?
So I just want to say thank you again. Reiterate, I can't tell you how much I appreciated the middle school staff during this time coming up with all of this information. And again, if there are any questions, feel free to email me. Let me know how I can help. You know, this is all a difficult time for everybody. So we just need, again, it takes a village. Just let me know how I can help and I'll do my best to take care of that. All right, Ann, I think we're done.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. You can stop recording, Mr. Goyette.
It did, and I'm ending meeting for all. So thank you, everybody.
Okay,
Thank you, Ann. Rockstar.